Oh, warm welcome to Thriving in Christ on YouTube and podcast. I'm so excited that you're here listening. I don't take your time and attention for granted. So thank you for being here. And today I'm going to touch on something that's very dear to my heart, the powerful distinction that can move the mountains, especially if you're wrestling with sharing your faith. I think as Christians, we're so keen to really glorify God and share about our passion and our love and what God did in our life. And sometimes it falls on deaf ears. And especially in our culture, I actually love that there is a global effort to make everyone feel inclusive, that make everyone feel accepted and loved. Now, that also, though, brings a problem because then Christianity becomes one more thing on this huge map of things. And I believe that this is not the case, that Christianity has something so unique, that Christ is so unique. But sometimes as we're trying to share, when you get so enthusiastic about sharing about God and Christ, we can come across as too intense or, yeah, but you don't get it. You don't understand the belief. So I'm going to bring this important distinction and I'm going to share about my life because I grew up in communist Romania. And although baptized really early on as an infant, I grew up in my consciousness believing that I'm an atheist because I was a scientist. I love science. I love math, physics, biology. I went to medical school. It was a joy. My brain really loves that. And at the same time, things shifted for me when I realized this powerful distinction. And that brought me to God. So I'm really excited to share this with you and share about Christ's love for us as humanity and about God. And I will bring the distinction so you make it applicable to you so then you can start thinking and use it in your own life. Because I'm sure you have had some powerful experiences that brought you close to God. And we want to honor that. And if you know me, welcome back. If you don't know me, I'm Dr. Ioana Popa from Team for the Soul, and I co-founded this with my husband. It is a family company where we love to support Christians. And I personally work with Christian women, and I'm passionate about helping professional Christian women and servant leaders regenerate on the go, renew as we serve others, and also move from grief to hope and prevent burnout and achieve higher potential. Because in my experience, burnout and grief are the biggest stones, so to speak, that pulls us back and work in the background in our subconscious. It takes a lot of energy from us and can block us into serving others with joy, with energy, with peace. And how do I know? I've been there, done that many times. And I also been helping other people for decades in changing habits, changing patterns of thoughts and emotions and beliefs. So getting really deep. This has been my journey, and I'm so delighted to be here to share this with you. And with that, if you're ready, let's dive in. All right, so imagine this. Communist era, I'm in Romania in my 20s, I'm at the end of medical school, and the communists just fell. Now, during the communist, interestingly, our churches were not destroyed like in other communist countries. So churches were open, I would go in and out. I had some really powerful, amazing, kind of deep experiences in there. That's for another day. But right after communists fell, there was this explosion of religiosity on TV. And for me, as I consider myself an atheist and a scientist, I'm like, oh dear, please. So I want to hear one more thing, right? So I'm so understanding other people when they are hearing Christians and they're so passionate, come for Jesus, come for Christ, for God, because I was the one of them. And I was like, please don't tell me one of this. I was like, la, 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 la. I don't want to hear this. And that's true for many, many people, right? How many times we break bridges because we're so passionate and we're so militant going about it. Now, for some people that might work. For me, it did not work. And I guess that if you might have people in your life that also don't want to listen to this, you've tried. You've tried to tell about the amazing ways that Christ really impacted you probably didn't work. So imagine me, I'm in my 20s and I'm already closed off, like many people in this world. Christ said, baptize all nations, and we're trying to do that, but many people are closed. Their hearts are closed, their ears are closed, and they don't get it. And here's the important distinction that I was able to shift my perspective and encounter God, the living God. There's a huge difference between beliefs and ultimate reality. And I'm going to say this again. There's a huge difference between beliefs and the truth, the ultimate reality. As my professor in theological classes said, any church or religion, they don't hold the truth. The truth is Christ. So ultimately, Christ is the truth. God is the truth. We have windows to the truth, which I find is so lovely, this imagery. And that's why I love all the Christians, because we all have different windows to the truth in such a way, but fundamentally, Christ is the way. Christ is life and Christ is the way. So, what do I mean by the difference between beliefs and the ultimate reality? Beliefs are in our consciousness perceived as truths. They are like pronouncements that we hear in the back of our mind. Oh, God exists. That in itself is a pronouncement. It's a belief. The truth is the encountering with God, the ultimate reality. But the belief, like if we say, we say the creed, I believe in one Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? I believe, that's a belief. Versus the truth, the ultimate reality. There's a few things that we know for sure. Gravity is one of them. We know that there is order in this universe and there's some laws, right? We cannot escape gravity. That's an example of the truth. Ultimate reality. We know that all of us are going to die. It's a given. All the rest can unfold in so many ways. But the fact that we're all going to die and we're going to hit the ultimate reality, it's a truth. It's a reality. So I'm making this distinction so you get the background of what was happening in my mind when I was 20. So here I am, all skeptical about God, like, please don't talk to me. And scientifically cannot be proven, so it doesn't exist, right? That's one frame of mind, especially in some scientific communities. I'm not going to say in all. If I cannot prove it, it doesn't exist. So on TV, one time I heard a priest. He said, well, if you believe in God and you see all this effervescence of religious activity. By the way, this was right before Easter, right before Pascha. It could be wonderful. But if you don't, you're probably like, oh, you're so skeptical and this doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, yes, he gets me. All of a sudden, he got my attention because he was getting to the heart of it. He was acknowledging that my belief was different and it just doesn't make any sense to me. And he said, but don't trust that. Just go in your chamber and just pray authentically, he said. Please breathe really authentically. Our Father in heaven, if you are in heaven, I don't believe you are in heaven, but if you are, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. If there is a kingdom, I don't believe there is a kingdom. And so he went on and on and on with our Father. And I'm like, such an interesting frame of point of reference and a way of explaining that. And I said, you know what? I could do that. I can go in my chamber and close the door. And then as I was doing that a bit later, I started thinking as I was praying, all of a sudden, and this is the invitation. When we talk with people that don't believe, first of all, acknowledge their perspective. Like really acknowledge their perspective. They're smart people, most likely. They're logical. We cannot just override their beliefs. Their beliefs are constructing their inner reality, like my beliefs, your beliefs are constructing our inner reality. And when someone actually had the respect and the dignity to acknowledge that my belief could be valid, and I don't have to override it, but I can tap into curiosity. And this is what I did. So I was curious, like, what if God exists? Like, okay, I don't believe, I have all those reasons. And all of a sudden I had this insight. And this is the distinction between belief and the ultimate reality. Okay, are you ready? If you're multitasking, this is the time to really slow it down and listen to this. What went into my head was something like this, and it was from God. I cannot, it's brilliant insight. I'm like, well, if God does not exist, who cares what I believe? I can believe that God doesn't exist. I can believe that God exists. I can believe in this God, in that God, in 1,000 billion gods. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. And probably if I will believe in God, I will live a more peaceful life, just calm and trusting. So if God doesn't exist, right? That were the two options. I can believe or not, and it didn't matter. So put that to the side. But then I thought, wait a minute. If God does exist, if I believe it's great, but if I don't, so when I was pondering on that question, was not even like a terrible fear, like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen to me? It was more like an open curiosity, like, wait a minute, if God does exist in this universe, don't I want to know God in my lifetime? Like, it'll be such a waste of my life without being curious and entering in my personal relationship with God. And then I realized that if God exists, of course it matters what I believe, and I can choose my belief. And this is the important distinction. Beliefs, we can choose. And I'll talk in another episode, how do we shape beliefs, how they're formed and all that. But for today, beliefs we can choose. And beliefs that are not helpful, we can throw out a window. And beliefs that are helpful, we can incorporate and we can use to help the model of the world. And I realized, well, if God exists and I don't believe, that's a waste of time. That's a waste of my lifetime. So that in that moment, I realized there was more beneficial for me to be curious, first of all, and start maybe believing in God, but I didn't know, but I was curious. So that brought me, as I said, sometimes we talk about fear of God, but actually in some translation, they talk about awe. I was kind of in awe, like this. What if there is a cosmic consciousness? What if there's something humongous that is aware of me right now and I can enter in a relationship? And I got so curious and so excited that I said, God, if you exist, I really want to connect with you. And there's many steps. I took a few steps, and within a few days, I encountered God. That's for another story. But all I'm saying is that once I got curious and once I realized the distinction between beliefs and ultimate reality, because let's just face it, just because us as Christians, we believe that God exists, we are not going to make God exist. I'm going to say this again. We are not going to make God exist just because we believe God exists. God either exists or doesn't, period. God is the ultimate reality or it isn't. And most people that are Christians actually encounter the living God. So it's not just an intellectual exercise. They actually had that encounter that I had also in my 20s. We're like, wait a minute. There is something happening that is entering in a connection with me, that is eager to know me, that is here to help me thrive. So that is so important. And that's something, if you're wrestling to explain this to other people, is just that. There's a difference between beliefs and the ultimate reality. And just invite the other to be curious. We don't need to hammer them. Just invite them to be curious. Is there an ultimate reality? Is there Christ? And one more point that I want to make that I found so unique to Christianity versus any other religion. Christ was so unique that, first of all, he had some followers during his lifetime. He did miracles. But if that would have been enough, he would have a huge following. Like we look on social media now, I have people that are followed by millions and millions of people. That didn't happen to Christ. And by the way, the minute he let go of himself in a self-sacrificing way and loved his enemies and he was crucified, all the followers just spread. They just went away, including like Peter, right? Very close to him. So it didn't make sense. There's not a lot of leaders. They were so disappointed with him and so scattered with his death. We don't see that in any other religion. We see them being more honored and more seen even better and better. That didn't happen for Christ. And I say this because there is an important social dynamic here. The social dynamic is, yes, we do want authority, we do want to follow. There's a powerful way to follow, but that did not happen to Christ. He was doubted, people scattered, so he lost his followers. So why on earth the people after him would come back to him when Christ's image, so to speak, in the earthly sense of being, was already shattered? No one was following Christ afterwards. Everyone was disappointed. People walking to Emmaus, they're like, you didn't hear the news? He died. He disappointed us. So it's important to realize that and to see that something else must be at work to bring again the group back together, to form the churches, for St. Paul to choose to be in jail and witness to him, for people to die. And we're not talking about a cult here. I want to make a distinction. A cult is a system that's closed. They don't have communication with outside world. We're talking about centuries and centuries and centuries where people from different cultures, different walks of life, they all of a sudden, they're awakened to this reality. So there is something very powerful into this. And when we're wrestling with someone to explain, all we can do, if you ask me, especially in talking with someone that has no beliefs whatsoever, let's just ask and invite people into that curiosity, into that inquiry. What if God exists? And by the way, years later, I heard that this is called Pascal wager, that Pascal had this idea as well between the beliefs and reality, and he had 4 quadrants, right? If I don't believe, it doesn't matter. If I believe, so clearly this is a beautiful insight coming from God, just dropping into consciousness of people. And it's not for us to do. We can just invite the other into this curiosity. Let them taste and see. Let them be curious and ask and wonder and encounter the living God. And by the way, I'm just saying this, it just popped into my brain. I do not know that name of that priest who came on TV in Romania. So if any chance you might have some Romanian connections and you do know that priest who shares that insight and that joy for me to get curious, like just go into your room. Our Father who art in heaven. I don't believe there is heaven, but believe there is one. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. I would love for you to reach out to me, and I would love to thank that priest because it literally changed my life. And I'm here because of him, and of course, many, many other people, but he brought that crack in my consciousness to think of this distinction between beliefs and reality. And that's what I invite you to do. I invite you not to be afraid of beliefs. Realize that beliefs can be changed and that there is an ultimate reality. And we cannot be afraid of letting other people encounter the ultimate reality because miracles happen. And I know I'm not the only one that was awakened in this way. You might have been in the same way. You might know of other people who have been awakened the same way. This is a common phenomenon. It doesn't happen just to St. Paul and just a few. It happens to all of us. Why? I know that because God loves us all and he wants all of us to be and live for eternity with him in the kingdom of heaven. And with that, I'm going to end with a prayer. Dear God, thank you so much for being you, for bringing us into existence, for all the Christians that are praying and they're laboring in your love, wanting to bring your light into the world. May you help us to really inspire others to be curious about you, to be curious about our ultimate reality, and to awaken to this reality that we are born for eternity. And you are a God of love, a God full of compassion, full of joy and peace that surpasses all understanding, that has helped Christians for centuries and centuries to withstand all sorts of conditions and circumstances and bring your light into the world and witness you. And with that, I thank you for all you do. May you be blessed. And I encourage you to continue with your efforts to give to others. And may all these resources that I have will be a blessing to you so that you can keep on giving with others with joy and energy and the peace that surpasses all understanding. And I say goodbye for now.